Zeka, Nyong and Kele division of the Central region of Cameroon go on rampage. In this edition of the news, we tell you their difficulties that's going to be by our reporters Manjika and AGBOR. We also will be talking about officials in the northwest region of Cameroon that have continued to reinforce security, but the crisis is deepening. Mo Stella is on standby, plus charges against Michel Doki and 15 other supporters and sympathizers of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party have simply been dropped. It was here in the economic capital Douala today. Plus, we see how government officials are mounting pressure on contractors in charge of AFCON projects that are so far been stripped off for the hosting rights has been stripped off Cameroon. The various contractors that have been the pressure is mounting as officials are supervising the various projects that are due to host the 2019 AFCON Games. Cameroon is not going to be hosting the competition as decided by the Confederation of African Football. Those are headlines. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Let's begin right away in the far north region of Cameroon, where life is returning to normal. In Zamazaf. Zamazaf is a village in Mayo Tsanaga division of the far north region of Cameroon that saw its population chased out by Boko Haram militants. Most of the inhabitants are returning home after the military succeeded to chase the jihadists. Amongst those that returned is a 15-year-old boy that was kidnapped 3 years ago by Boko Haram fighters. He is having amputated arms, as we hear in the following report with Innocent Aze.
Boko Haram barbaric attacks have not spared Zamazaf village in the Mayo Moskuta subdivision in the Mayo Tsanaga division of the far north region of Cameroon.
Zamazaf était même le désert, même pas une personne.
3 years after atrocities, life and inhabitants are gradually returning to the community thanks to defense and security forces who have pushed back the jihadist fighters behind the mountain.
Les militaires ont préféré d'aller encadrer ces villages dans les différentes montagnes pour qu'ils nous mettent en sécurité.
Over 5,200 persons who escaped violence have returned to their homes, and a local vigilante committee set up to collaborate with defense and security forces to see Boko Haram threats neutralized for peace to reign in the regained locality.
Dès l'arrivée du lieutenant, il a parcouru tout les villages voisins d'amener les gens de Zamazaf à la maison.
Amongst those who have returned to Zamazaf is Lawan, 15 years old, now a handicap. He was abducted alongside his elder brother and father by Boko Haram fighters. His hands were half amputated, while his father and brother were murdered.
On l'a abandonné en brousse. C'est par les interventions des uns et des autres qu'on a pu évacuer l'enfant.
Lawan, who has spent 3 years in the hands of his kidnappers, has not had the opportunity to school.
Nous rendons toujours grâce à Dieu. Personne n'a pensé que l'enfant devrait survivre.
He now lives with his struggling mother happily, though with a disability. With the return of life in Zamazaf village, a grand event in honor of the victory was organized with the population brandishing smiles on their faces. They have been collaborating with defense and security forces, assisting in the construction of some facilities to help the military better defend them from unforeseen Boko Haram hostilities.
We take you now to the northwest region of Cameroon. As the Anglophone crisis deepens, reinforcing security is still a priority to the government of Cameroon. The governor of the northwest region, Adolphe Lafrique, told journalists that plans are underway to receive those who decide to lay down their arms and IDPs as well as refugees. He announced the reinforcement of security in the entire region during this end-of-year feast. But Mo Stella is going to be telling us in the following report that the population is still the most affected by the crisis. Her report.
Although chairing regional security meetings has been a routine for Mayo's Governor Adolphe Lafrique, the recent one chaired is crucial. It is happening at a time when the region is on alert due to threats from pro-independent fighters. Killings, kidnappings, Looting, among others, are being reported almost on daily basis in parts of the northwest region. This due to the socio-politically tense atmosphere, also characterized by frequent gun battles. The stakes are high and Governor Adolphe Lele-Lafrique is aware.
As far as the withdrawing of weapons by young that were misled or misguided, it is an opportunity for us to strategize on how to manage that option taken by the head of state and assess the situation of the displaced person. And apart from those main items, scrutinize the economic, administrative and social situation of the region and draw conclusion, give recommendation, and raise the main concern of the population to the government.
The crisis in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon has continued to cripple the economy of these regions. In most parts of the northwest, personal and state property have suffered arson attacks. Some of the attacks have led to loss of lives, while others have been left in pains. Administrative vehicles like that of the divisional officer for Bello subdivision, among others, have also been burnt to ashes. In some localities, government offices have remained shut down for months now. While handing over the keys of the presidential gift of service cars to some 8 divisional officers, the #1 statesman of the region dishes out the following instructions.
To ask them to work hard to maintain peace, public order and security with the region, with, of course, the support of all the stakeholders, including the population.
The meeting brought together all 7 senior divisional officers and heads of security services of the region. As the senior divisional officers move back to their respective divisions, it is hoped that the resolutions arrived at during the meeting will effectively be implemented on the field.
And here in the economic capital Douala, the Bonanjo Court of First Instance has dropped legal proceedings in the case between Michel Ndoki, 51 other supporters and sympathizers of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party and the state of Cameroon. The legal department discontinued the case today following instructions from the Minister of Justice in Cameroon. The Attorney General was in court to read out the nolle prosequi. Over 40 lawyers and scores of CRM supporters were in court at the Daido headquarters of the CRM, as we could see in solidarity with the accused. Barrister Michel Ndoki and over 50 others were arrested on October 27, 2018 here in the economic capital Douala for taking part in a protest against electoral hold-up in Cameroon. Maurice Kamto, the president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party, who came second in the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon, has maintained that the entire process was unfair and not transparent. Workers in Ezeka Council are observing a protest demonstration. Their strike action entered day 2. Today, the workers are demanding the payment of their 6-month salaries owed them by the said council officials. The mayor of the municipality, Libong Lilim Jean Grenet, has indicated that not only council workers are affected by the situation. Simanji Kangebre tells us more in the following report.
Disgruntled workers of the Ezeka Council lie helplessly on the floor in front of the council. The workers are demanding for the payment of the 6 months old salaries. The staff delegate of the Ezeka Council, Madame Julie Tang, confirms. We are 6 months without salaries. It is unheard of that we come to work and our dues are not paid to us. In a year, we are paid just twice, and a year has 12 months. Messages like, where does the council money go to? 6 months is too much. 6 months without salaries is too much, have been brandished by the striking workers. The staff delegate, Madame Julie Tang, blames the mayor for the worsening situation. He is the cause of the worsening situation. He is aware of everything that is going on. We have written to the mayor, but no response. It is now practically difficult for Ezeka inhabitants to get even stamps for official documents. The mayor of the locality, Libong Lilim Jean René, speaks out.
Je pense que les employés.
I think that the workers have the right to strike, but what I hate is that the same workers asking for money, not all of them are coming to work. All don't even have the same tax.
Tous ne font pas le même travail. Je suis parfaitement d'accord parce que cette situation n'est pas seulement la seule connue dans la commune d'Ezeka.
The blame on the delay of the workers' salary has been laid on the present economic crisis the country is facing. Everyone is now hoping that things will be regularized soon for Ezeka Council workers to resume work normally.
And in the economic capital, Douala, the governor of the region, Samuel Dieudonné Vadibwa, has continued mounting pressure on companies charged with the construction or rehabilitation of some stadia in Douala to meet the March 2019 deadline, though the African Cup of Nations has been withdrawn from Cameroun. After visiting some construction sites that was yesterday, Governor Samuel Dieudonné Vadibwa met with the contractors today and other stakeholders that was in the economic capital, Douala. He told them to overcome the challenge they highlighted in order to finish the works on time. Let's have the details of that report with Babila Jonathan.
After the withdrawal of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations hosting rights from Cameroon, construction and rehabilitation works continue progressing towards the March finishing line at the different stadia in Douala.
I'm congratulating the contractors that have a good speed of executing their duties. So many of them went so far so that we are proud of what we are seeing in the field, so that before the end of March they will be ready to have any competitions, any tournaments that are coming.
However, some contractors are complaining that their work is hampered by financial challenges emanating from unpaid bills or slow disbursement of money by government.
Some of them not at the level of the sport infrastructures, roads infrastructures, and other one. Some of them are waiting for payment. That's why I've asked them if they are good companies. When we are contracting with the states, it shows that you have means to work. Work first and you'll be paid. You cannot say that pay me first and so I work. That's why I'm asking them to be serious.
Littoral Governor Samuel Dieudonné Vadibwa has urged them to step up effort to ensure that the different infrastructures are ready in time.
I'm appealing them to be serious and to work very fast so that we can have good infrastructures before the D-date.
With regards to the ongoing construction and rehabilitation works and efforts to meet the March deadline, the decision of the Confederation of African Football to withdraw the organization of the AFCON from President Paul Biya's country 7 months before the competition is qualified as injustice.
I can say that all those who were in the field were just saying that it's a kind of injustice that is done here and there.
La cause du refus, c'est le manque, l'absence d'une autorisation d'importation et d'exonération.
One of the contractors told Governor Samuel Dieudonné Vadibwa that work is slowed down by challenges in the importation of prefabricated materials due to lack of authorization from government authorities. And in response, Governor Samuel Dieudonné Vadibwa said, "It is a small problem that will be solved as soon as possible. Promises have been made, assurances given by public authorities, and now Cameroonians are waiting to see their fulfillment, to see their stadia completely constructed or rehabilitated."
Government officials have continued to explain how and why Cameroon is able to host the 2019 AFCON Games. The rights have so far been withdrawn from the country. It should be noted that the governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalia-Bilai, equally visited some AFCON projects that was in the Southwest region of Cameroon today. We, of course, will be coming back to that in our subsequent newscast. Now, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Jean-Claude Boinchou, says that contractors working on the earmarked projects for the 2019 AFCON Games are working efficiently to deliver the projects on time. He made the declaration that was in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, today after meeting with the contractors in charge of the AFCON projects as well as the local organizing committee members. The minister said that there is no problem at this level. He was speaking to our Yaoundé-based correspondent or reporter Marcelin Gansop. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
We have a program. This program will be respected. We told the enterprise, the contractor, that they have to be very engaged because the government will respect his engagement. There is no problem in my sector, in the sector of road, the sector of road and parking. There is no problem, and that is why we have this meeting to tell the contractor that they have to be confident. They have been paid. There is no problem. You can ask the contractor. There is no problem nowadays. We have confidence that our work will go very, very quick. And on March, you will not see one contractor in the field.
The governor of the Central Region, Nasere Paul Biya, has equally said that the problem is not at this level. Nasere Paul Biya is the chairman of the local organizing committee for the Central Region as far as the 2019 AFCON projects are concerned. Governor Nasere Paul Biya equally said that all the projects will be completed by March 2019. He was speaking after meeting with contractors in Yaoundé today. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
We invited the various contractors working on the various fields to be able to consult with them to know exactly or to inform them about the instructions of the head of state. We have to finish the works on the various playgrounds on the date which is assigned, that is latest March. And they assured us, and they have already started working hard in spite of these other minor problems which have to be solved. They have already started recruiting more workers to be able to meet up with the date. So at our level, everything is going on well. The planting of the grass and the playground will start before 15th of January. So what will be left will just be the finishing touches and the rest of the things, so that by March the playgrounds will be ready. So we don't have any fear.
And recruiting more workers is what Razel, one of the companies in charge of AFCON construction projects, is doing at this point in time. The officials reassured the government of Cameroon that they are working tirelessly to deliver the projects in due time. Let's have an excerpt that was put together by Marcelin Gansop in Yaoundé today.
I'd like to underline that many efforts were made in the past to solve all the small problems we had on our way to achieve these projects, and most of the difficulties today are behind thanks to the help of administration. Today is just about finishing the project. We don't have any obstacles stopping you, and the minister assured us of his constant help and hand in case of whatever tries to stop us. So I'm very confident that everything will be sorted easily. We are today in advance on our program, so we will finish in advance on our program.
And now statistics from the United Nations organization indicate that $1 trillion are paid as bribe and $2.6 trillion are stolen through corruption annually around the world. And corruption is Cameroon rather, is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. The Business Coalition for Good Governance is stepping efforts to assist the government of Cameroon in the fight against what is being described as cankerworm, that is corruption. The coalition is having more than 100 members. They were meeting in the economic capital Douala today and equally training journalists as well within the framework of the World Day Against Corruption coming up. That's going to be on the 9th of December 2018. Some journalists were drilled on the fight against corruption in the society. The coalition, in greater details, we are going to be having an extract of one of the members of the coalition, Mr. Kimani Nwara, General Manager of the giant multinational company in Cameroon. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
Get a critical mass of companies within Cameroon with zero tolerance against corruption and codes of good conduct so that we can effectively run business in Cameroon without any corruption. That is our objective. It's a very bold and lofty objective, but you can see within the last 5 years we've increased our membership from around 20 people to 140 companies. We now have representation with diplomatic corps from over 6 countries. We have multinationals such as Guinness. We have big companies such as Eneo involved. We have Tradex, who now has assumed the chairmanship as the first local Cameroonian chair. So we believe we're making big strides. The whole idea, corruption is age old. So it needs a consistent and reliable foundation in BCGG, at least within the private sector, to make sure that we bring a critical mass of companies that say no to corruption and that do business in a proper way. That means their companies are conducting their business in a manner that is correct and that has a zero tolerance towards corruption. If you imagine that 5 years ago it was only 20, today we are 140, in 5 years if you extrapolate, we should be over 1,000. As we get to those critical figures of many companies ascribing to this, what you should see is a reduction in corruption, at least when it comes to private sector. And that should certainly have an impact on.
That is Mr. Kimani Nwara speaking there to Babla Jonathan. He's general manager of one of the giant multinational in Cameroon. That is that for this first segment of the news. Up next, we talk about the disarmament committee put in place by the government of Cameroon. Stay with us. We are being joined tonight by a senior barrister at law, Barrister ASHU. Good evening to you, Barrister. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Good evening, Mimi. Good evening, televiewers.
Tonight, we will continue to talk about the National Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee that has been put in place by the government of Cameroon. It has a some specific number of objectives. Amongst the objectives put in place by the government is to disarm Boko Haram fighters and those in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. Tell us, first of all, Barrister, how effective this move can be.
Well, this is a very good square peg, unfortunately meant for a round hole. It's a very good initiative in the sense that it is nice to disarm the groups that are in the north, terrorizing the populace, and in the northern and southwest, secessionist groups. So it's a very good initiative. But you ask the question, how effective is this? It is an unfortunate initiative in the sense that apart from the head of state's invitation towards the armed groups to leave the forest and come home and disarm, there is nothing else that has been done in the direction of stopping this conflict. So the big question you have to ask is, how are you going to disarm people who are unwilling to disarm and who are still carrying out armed gun battles and confrontations? So how is that possible? We first of all have to get this conflicts to come to an end before we can start thinking of disarming the people. Because if somebody has his gun with all his ammunition and he's shooting, there's no way you can ask him to leave his gun when
so this move was not supposed
to continue shooting.
This move was not supposed to come now. It was supposed to come after the crisis has come to an end.
Yeah, but even now it is still a good move, provided after this they will now put in place all the structures and all the initiatives that will bring an end to this conflict.
When you're talking about structures and initiatives, what are some of these
Well,
structures
like
and initiatives?
people have always been crying for a broad-based national conference that can wherein everybody will come to the table and we discuss our issues in the family way.
Like the Anglophone conference.
Anglophone conference is limited only to Anglophones and cannot solve this issue, because this issue is, you see, the current crisis in the Anglophone regions is not only limited to Anglophones. If it were limited only to Anglophones, why is the whole country's economy virtually on its knees? You see, it is a conflict that has affected the entire nation. And we need everybody to be on the table so that when they're solving this problem, other areas in the country should not be affected.
Is that why it's taking too long for the conference to take place? Because it has been postponed 2 times already.
Well, the Anglophone conference has been postponed because the government is not a partner to it. It's not a partner to it. You know the people who are involved in putting this thing up, the clergymen, and they are trying to like force the government's hand. And the government is an unwilling partner. I will not say no to the government's reluctance, because I'll ask myself the question, what is this conference geared towards? What is it aimed at solving?
There's always...
They said they are going to come up with a conference to select delegates for an eventual national conference. But if it's just to
Barrister, but we must always start from somewhere.
I agree that we should start from somewhere.
Why are you pessimistic about the Anglophone General Conference?
I say, you see, I'm pessimistic because this is a conference coming after AAC 2, which made no room for AAC 3. If you look at the resolution of AAC 2, they made no room for AAC 3. So we should close that chapter and come up with something that can make us have a positive way forward. Let us not pretend to say Anglophones will come together. If you bring Anglophones together, I'll tell you that our resolutions of AAC 2 stand. And if you look at the secession move, those moves come into place because they look like the execution of AAC 2. So I think that we should not pretend. We should look for something that can provide meaningful and durable solutions to the crisis.
Barrister, we come back to the disarmament committee put in place by the government of Cameroon. They talked about disarming Boko Haram militants, like you said, in the far north region of Cameroon and those of the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. Is this the same problem here?
It is not the same problem. You see, when you talk of disarming Boko Haram is a terrorist organization that is linked to ISIS. I think it is total tomfoolery. You cannot disarm somebody. First of all, their base is not in Cameroon. Their base is in Nigeria. They leave Nigeria, enter Cameroon, and carry out their atrocities. How are you going to disarm them when you don't even know, you don't even master their base? You have not brought them down to silence, and you think of disarming them. I think it is purely something that should remain on Facebook.
What could possibly be some of those conditions that need to be fulfilled to disarm the fighters? Because we see the governor of the Northwest region, as we heard in the course of this newscast, talking about them being ready to receive those that are ready as well to lay down their arms. It was a similar situation in the Southwest region of Cameroon. Tell us some of those conditions that are supposed to be fulfilled for them to be disarmed.
The conditions that should be fulfilled. Let me take the Northwest and Southwest regions. The conditions that should be fulfilled are the reasons why this conflict started in the first place. If people took your arms because they are discontented and they're asking for things that they're not getting, you cannot tell me that they will disarm because you have asked them to disarm. And that's the reason why we see trouble continuing. Start by solving those problems. If you cannot solve them, the big question on the table, the state, the form of the state, cannot be discussed only by Anglophone. Everybody in Cameroon is interested in the form of the state. Let us come together and discuss it and see whether we have a consensus or not. Surely we are going to have a consensus. We did have a consensus before we had this current constitution. It is always possible to have a consensus. Let us come together. That is where the solution is.
But you're giving the impression that the government is not understanding the
problem. I say the government is reluctant.
The kind of solutions to provide as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned.
The government has received all proposals as to the solutions to adopt. They have received all. They cannot tell me that they have not received. They received everything. But they are reluctant, for reasons I cannot master, to apply those solutions.
What could be the interest when people continue to die on daily basis and people are being displaced on daily basis in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. Communities are gradually being wiped out on daily basis, Barrister. What would be the interest?
The interest is simply that some people think that the government should not be seen to be weak. And under that pretext, they continue to put forth the armed solution as against the peaceful solution. Because if you think that you are strong, you can want to hold your strength against the weaker party. But in a matter like this, the interest of the state is so high that I think that nobody should think he is strong or weak. Let us consider the interests of all Cameroonians. We are all suffering. Let us come to the table and iron out our differences.
Thank you so much, Barrister, for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
You're welcome, Mimi.
Thank you so much. To our viewers, it was equally a pleasure having with us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs until we meet again. Goodbye.